Well, today on CampGeeks, we're back outside for another tent, well in this case setup and review. Hey guys, welcome back to CampGeeks. I have with me the MSR Carbon Reflex 2, which I've used a couple times already, and yeah, so I figured I'd do a quick setup video to show you how it works. But before we get into that, I'm going to kind of get into some specs of it with the actual specs that MSR actually gives you on this guy. First thing is, the seams are not taped seams on the actual Rainfly itself. They are sealed seams, which they claim is going to help make your tent last longer. They even give you a bottle of sealant, which I didn't grab, sorry. So it's a fast cure seam sealant that they give you. It comes in this little plastic bag. They are pre-sealed from the factory, and I'm going to show you the seams are, at least in my tent, a little messy in their application, but you know, as long as the seams are water resistant or watertight. I have not had this tent in a downpour rain yet, so it's really hard to say how well they were done, but and we're going to get into the Rainfly and everything in actually I took some video usage of the last time I used the tent. Weights. So this is the 2-person tent. They make a 1, 2, and a 3-person version. The actual, what they call the packed weight of this guy, 2 pounds 3 ounces. This is the 2-person version. It is tiny for a 2-person tent. Extremely lightweight. Your fast and lightweight, if you get rid of all the extra stuff, is 1 pound 13 ounces. Yeah, 1 pound 13 ounces. 1 pound 9 ounces if you're going to go to the fast and lightweight, right? So interior peak height, that's the top distance inside your tent, 34 inches. It's not a very tall tent. I apologize, I don't know what's going on a couple doors down. Livable volume, they have 43 plus 13.5 cubic feet, so 43 inside the tent itself. It is not a massive tent. Again, this is an ultralight tent. The poles themselves are carbon fiber, and I'll show you that here. The fabrics are very, very lightweight, but to be honest, they feel pretty durable, especially the floor design and the vestibule, or the Rainfly itself. It is mainly mesh, so you know, obviously you can easily tear that if you were to catch it on something like that, but that's like any tent, to be honest. So I'm going to set up my other camera. We're going to get a couple different angles of me setting this up. We're going to run through it fast because I'm going to speed it up on the video, but we're going to do setup. And once we do the setup, then we'll go through the tent. There we go. One thing I do not have as well is a footprint. This is going to be without the footprint. Obviously with a footprint or a tarp or whatever, you just put that down first. And that's it. One thing to note, basically the 2 outside guide posts on the backbone, as well as on the very ridge here in the center, there are these little Velcro pieces that actually Velcro around the pole itself. So make sure you do that, specifically if you want to use the guide feature here. It's going to give it support to actually pull in the tent rather than just the Rainfly itself. Also on the sides where basically that ridge pole, that the cross pole on the ridge comes over, there's actually on the back side of the vestibule, there's also a little aluminum guide. Make sure you attach that as well. in addition to the Velcro that just locks it in. And of course there's another guy point right there. One small item on setup when we're doing the cross bar up top here, the ridge bar, in the center, if you actually pop that over, it actually sits right in between this hook and actually centers it right on the money. A small thing, yeah, it's not going to make a big deal, but it does put it right where it needs to be, and it holds it there. So that's the setup. You have your bag, you have your pole bag, and you have your stakes. Now, I used 6 stakes in setup, 4 for the corners and then 2 for the vestibules. There are an additional 4 stakes that come with it. That's obviously for your guy points. The actual fly itself hooks onto the same stakes that the 4 pieces that I had put in for the tent. They just kind of loop on top of those. They do have the little hook on here that actually holds it on. You can kind of see this seam seal job it's a little messy at spots. To be honest, it really doesn't matter, but it's just something that I did notice. But let's go to me actually earlier this morning, and we'll take a peek at what it looks like while it's in use, with even some gear inside of it. So back to me. So one of the many weight-saving features on this tent is the removal of the standard zippers on the fly. Now, right now I kind of have it open so you can kind of see it. There's 2 metal clips. You can see you have the clip side, and then you have just a ring side. And essentially you just clip those together. And then there's Velcro in between. They just Velcro. Now, the thing about this is that it's not going to be as rain resistant, specifically in like a driving rain, because there's still spots that water can get in, but it's going to keep the majority out. It's one of those things that you save quite a bit of weight because you're not including zippers. I will say that it's a little trickier to get closed while you're on the inside, specifically because the tent is a lower hugging to the ground. To get this bottom one, you kind of got to reach a little ways. Now, if you're going away, you still can, clip it on there, and it'll actually pull it tighter, and it'll actually seal even a little bit better. But if you're inside the tent, you're probably not going to do that, and you're probably not going to want to, so that way it makes it easier to get out. Guy line posts throughout the tent that obviously if you're in a setting that you're having a little more wind, I would use these. In this case, this whole weekend that I've been using it has not been windy at all, so I fared not to. Even though this is not a freestanding tent, just staking out the 4 bottom corners and the 2 vestibule units, way more than enough. Also on the doors, there's only one door that you can actually roll up and keep out of the way. In this case, it's the right side door here. And you can tell exactly which one it is by this little knob here, but it's not on the secondary door. So that's basically, it lets you know which side of the vestibule portion you're actually going to use as your door. And just like any other tent, pretty much, whether it's MSR or not, it's just a little quick and easy loop, and there you go, it's out of the way. Size of the vestibules, to be honest, for an ultralight tent, they're not bad. I'm not going to say they're huge, and that's mainly because the roof of the tent is lower, so you don't have as much headroom inside, but definitely enough. I kept my cooler in here, I kept my shoes in here, my sandals in here, and even my chair, my packable chair, all in here. This is the 2-person version, obviously it says in the thing, so the Reflex 2. Now this is a really lightweight tent. If weight is not a huge issue and you're willing to go a few more ounces, I probably would recommend going with the 3-person, because you're just going to gain more room on the inside. It's a really low ceiling, having that wider room would be a little bit nicer. So that'd be one thing that I would say. So this is the screen mesh system here, which also has a way to keep it open. So if you're in a spot that isn't crazy buggy, you can at least get more airflow. You can do the same thing to the other side, so you can get air moving straight through. Oh geez, I didn't hook it properly, look at that. But same fastener system that you're using on the outside fly. I'm 5'11". If I sit up straight, my head definitely hits the ceiling. There are 3 loops here for things, so I actually have my light right here, my Nocta light for my Petzl headlamp. I had that where I I actually hang it from the ceiling at night, like so. Hopefully you're able to see that. Just helps with that. There are 2 more over here, so if you really wanted to do a gear loft, you could. I would not recommend it in this tent because it's just going to lower the ceiling even more to a point where it's not going to be very comfortable. It's not really meant for a gear loft, to be honest about it. That's one of the things you sacrifice when you go to an ultralight tent, is some of those nicer features. Definitely some of the more steeper walls. You have fairly steep walls on the side, but on the ends they definitely slope in quite a bit. So maybe I'll shoot the video so you can see that. A little bit wider mode, but you can see it kind of comes over to the edge here and then starts sloping down, and then vertical at the very edge in the water resistant zone, right? The thing about this tent is, and I will say this as well, you do get 2 pockets, one here, one on the opposite side. Essentially each side is a mirror image of itself. The weight and the packability of this tent is what makes it what it is, and I love it. I love it because it packs up so small. It makes it easy for the trips, backpacking, bike packing. In this case, I'm motorcycle camping, so motor camping or motorbike packing. I really like it. You're not looking at a vast amount of space, so if you're going to a spot that you're going to be in the tent for quite a while, know that you're not going to be able to sit up unless you're in the middle of the tent. So there are some drawbacks, but that's with anything that's ultralight, there are always drawbacks. I think MSR did a really good job. My biggest gripe on this tent has to be probably with the vestibule sealant system. It works. It works good. I wouldn't say it works great. I would like to see a little bit different system so that it actually maybe you have a little more overlap and so a little more protection, but I haven't been in this thing with a driving rain yet, so I'm only going by my visual aspect, not by actual terms of use in that circumstance. So things to say, I like a lot of things about this tent, but there's no perfect product. So that's, in my eyes, the MSR Carbon Reflex 2. Just like setting up, but in reverse, I always like to do the outside edges first, and the last one to unclip is the roof. That way everything kind of evens out. Also, these are carbon fiber poles, which they do have an amazing amount of flexibility to them. Sorry about that. But just like anything else, you always want to make sure you start in the center. And the quality of these poles is awesome. They are Easton poles. You can actually see the Easton logo every so often on at least the center one. As well as, where did I see it? Custom carbon. Oh, that's the aluminum section in the middle there, it looks like. Easton aluminum. And then down here, it's a advanced carbon, actually, made in the USA. Oh, sorry about that. Custom carbon 3.9. Really, really nice, really lightweight poles. Really strong and good flexibility, but like anything, always start by separating them and taking them down from the center. That way you equate the collapsing on the inner elastic cord. And as you may have told when I was setting it up, when I take things down after I dry it all out, which I've done here, I let it out in the sun for a while. I put everything in the center other than the tent poles and stakes, and then here is where I actually start folding things up. And then rolling things up once I get them to the size. I usually try to get it folded up to the size of the pole bag, and then I just roll them up together. So, all in all, the Carbon Reflex series, I love. I really do. I like it a lot. It is ultralight. There are things that you're giving up for that ultralight feature. So you're giving up space, right? It's not as tall as some of the tents. The walls aren't as steep, so you get a little more rounded. It's going to actually hug the ground better, and it's going to do better in the wind because of that. Obviously, the guy points and everything that they have on, spot on. It's really good. The one thing I don't like, to be honest, is the Velcro on the vestibules. If there's one thing that I would tell MSR to work on, I think that's your weakness point. Now, I'm sure you're saving weight there, maybe there's a better way to do it. Like I said in the video, maybe make this seam a little bigger. Yeah, you're going to add maybe a hair weight, but bring it over here a little bit more so you have a little more overlap. And you know, hooking these little hooks, especially the bottom hook down here, it's not the easiest thing to do when you're in the tent, right? You have to really reach down to do it. So there's just some things that I would change personally on the tent. It's not a perfect tent. Do I like the tent? I do. I like it a lot. I love how packable it is, and it made me save a lot of weight and a lot of space on my motorcycle on the trip that I did this last weekend. So I really do like the tent. There are things that they can update and make better, and I hope they do. That's really the only thing that I have a gripe about, is really the seam there. The single backbone pull I like a lot. I didn't think I was going to like it as much as I do. It worked really, really well with the single top cross pin. You don't need the, you know, yes, adding the extra pulls that you would do in the corners is going to make it a freestanding tent. This tent doesn't need to be a freestanding tent. There's already that. Let's save the weight. Let's do it that way. So all in all, I really do like it. Maybe the other thing I would say is maybe have something where that you can have at least a way to add to keep these vents open. Maybe not as big of a deal, but something that I would like to see in the tent just to help keep it cooler. You could stick something in here to keep it open, but it's one of those things that getting a little bit of airflow is always a good thing, especially on a hot night. So with that said, I'm going to put links below where you can take a peek at this guy. If you have any questions, post those below. Comment, subscribe if you can. Share the video if you would. I'd appreciate it. But that's the MSR Carbon Reflex 2. If I was to redo it, I'd probably buy the Reflex 3. I'd go with a little bit extra weight to go with the 3-person version. I originally was going to do the 1-person, but with the trip that I've been doing with my motorcycle and getting into that, having my helmet stuff and all that, it's great to have that extra room off to the side, even if I'm not bringing another person with me. I probably would have done the 3-person had I thought it through a little bit more and thought about the weight. That said, I still like it a lot. So I think it's $549 for the 2-person. Don't quote me on that specifically, but I will put links down below where you can take a peek at it. And of course, there's probably always sites that you can get good deals on. So thanks for watching, guys. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for liking. And we'll catch you back here on CampGeeks for a future video. We'll see you soon.